the Tula, we're probably going to give you some good heavy-duty rain gear. You know, if you're working in Antarctica and it's going to be main body, you're going to get what they call the ECW outfit, which is heavy-duty cold weather gear. So for me, I'm actually gearing up to go on a trip here in a couple of weeks. And it's springtime in Alaska, but you know, it's -20 this spring. And where I'm going, it could be -20 again. But in the same location, in late April, I've encountered -20, and I've also encountered rain. So how do you really pack for that kind of trip? And basically, you got to bring a lot of stuff. So, so if I'm going too fast, just ask a question. I don't mind stopping mid-sentence and answering your questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get dressed, just kind of how I get dressed for the field, and this is going to be centered.
You wouldn't strip down all the way. I've tried it.
That costs extra. So anyhow, so this clothing is obviously for like a winter type of situation. If I was going out in the middle of summer, I actually bring a lot of the same kind of stuff, but they're different weights, and you know, I don't need these pants in the summertime. So anyway, starting with my first layer here, it's either synthetic or wool or silk or some kind of combination of that. Cotton as your base layer is really a bad idea, because the first tenet of the Arctic is that cotton kills. So if you're wearing a cotton t-shirt, cotton underwear, cotton socks, you're doing some exertion, you're getting sweaty, that cotton's never going to dry out. And so it'll hold that moisture, and then you'll get chilled down. So you want your base layer, you want something that's going to wick moisture away and pass it to your outer layers and eventually into the atmosphere. So a lot of new technology on materials and clothing. You know, the stuff I use, this is all my personal stuff. I've used it I've had these for 20 years, and you don't really need the fanciest, newest stuff out there. You know, if you're on a budget, CPS will give you your basic clothing issue, which might be boots and overalls, but the stuff that you should focus on are like your underwear, hats, gloves, mittens, really your personal gear. And that's going to take some time for you to kind of figure out a little bit. Some experimentation, but those things are kind of vital. And so if I give you a pair of gloves and you don't like them, you should really think about, you know, working on getting some gloves that you think might work for you. So I'm going to start off. So these are Capilene long johns, and actually my underwear itself is also a wicking underwear. And with, well, both men and women, if you go in the field, you might be out there for weeks before you get a shower. So think about how your underwear is how it's going to be in a few weeks, you know. So, you know, but there's a lot of new products out there that are actually really geared towards working out in the field. So these are bunny boots. Some of you may or may not get bunny boots, depending what time of year you work. I put on, these are called Bama boots, and this is a waterproof, vapor-proof boot. So it basically does not breathe at all. And so they're great for Fairbanks. If you go to Fred Meyer, you're going to see people just walking around shopping in these. You know, people just wear them here. They're great. They're rated down to about -40. I use them all the time when I go in the field. The gaiter's optional. But this Bama boot, what it does is it wicks moisture away. So throughout the day, because this thing does not breathe at all, you get moisture buildup. And normally it's in your sock. And even though it's a wool sock, if it gets wet enough, your feet might start getting cold. So the Bama boot, I mean, I've sold millions of these. They don't own stock in them or anything. But at the end of the day, this will be soaking wet, and my sock will be pretty dry. So if you're wearing a rubber boot, it could be like an extra tough. You know, you might want to think about getting something like this. And if you don't have a Bama boot, then you should always carry a couple pairs of socks with you. Because, like I said, if it gets wet during the day, you can change your sock, and then it's like you're starting over again. Okay, my next layer is my old tried and true wool shirt. And then I put my pants on. And for me, this combo I've used forever, and it works for me. And I like it because I'm familiar with it. I know it works. And it's just it kind of comes with experience, but they're kind of loose, they're big, and they're not waterproof, but they actually breathe really well. And they're easy to get on and off, you know. So suspenders actually are good to have. It allows airflow kind of in your torso, so you can vent them. If it's really warm, you can unzip the legs, you can vent out, and then they're easy to get off and on. For women, there's been a lot of strides in clothing design where you can have pants and the seat drops. So going to the bathroom is not a big deal. Guys, it's never a big deal. It's easier. And I know I've worked with women before who didn't want to drink water because they had to go to the bathroom. And that's actually a big no-no. I mean, you got to hydrate, especially in the Arctic, Antarctic, extremely dry. Even in Fairbanks, you've probably noticed it since you've been here. Hydration is pretty important. So if your clothing choice makes it easier to use a bathroom, it makes a big difference. You're more inclined to stay hydrated. So that's my little.
And we've had to send people home because they got so sick and so dehydrated. So you don't want to. I mean, this is an opportunity of a lifetime, and if you have to go home early because you didn't want to pee, really.
Yeah, it happens, and, you know, but don't let that happen to you. So.
Question.
Yeah.
What is the purpose of the gaiters?
The gaiters for me, it's like a lot of times where I work, I'm post holing or I'm, you know, riding on a snow machine, and it just helps keep snow from getting up in my pant leg. But you don't have to have gaiters by any means. I mean, it's kind of what I just keep them on my boots, so they're convenient.
It's like in the snowboarding pants or ski pants that.
Yeah, it's got a built-in gaiter a lot of times, like inner sleeve. So my belt doesn't really help keep my pants up, but it's got a knife and a multi-tool, which is I recommend to people. You know, you should want to, you know, you can fix your glasses if you want to open something up. You know, it's right there. It's convenient. In an emergency, I can grab it really quickly. I'm not sure it's kind of warm here. I mean, this might be my next layer. A vest. This will be another layer I'll put on. And the thing about all these garments is that I can vent them. You know, I can unbutton this, and I can unzip this. And I can, if I'm shoveling, or moving a snow machine around, or doing some physical work, you don't really want to sweat. You want to be able to vent. And so your clothing should have that option of being able to open them up. You know, the downside with some clothing options is that people will buy a really nice, big, heavy parka. You know, it's so warm, you won't wear anything underneath it. So when you get hot, you strip the parka off, and now you just basically have like a really light undergarment. So it's one extreme to the other. With a layering system, you can peel stuff off, put stuff on, as whatever your activity is. So this guy here is my tried and true windbreaker. And one thing that I like about a garment like this is that it makes it easy to get on the other subsequent layers. It just slips right on. I don't have to fight pulling against different types of fabric or same kind of fabric. It just slips right over. This is breathable. I wear it year-round. I've had it a long time. It's been great. Apocalypse Design, Fairbanks Company. A little promo there. I don't get kickbacks, folks. Okay. And so if it's really nasty, I'll carry my big parka, and I can put this over here. Like if I'm going to go snow machine. And it'll just go over the top of everything I have now. But obviously if I get off my machine, I'm having a shovel, this is coming off because, you know, it's actually too warm. So that's you know, I actually don't wear that much even when it's like 20 below zero, 30 below, it's almost too much. This does me pretty good. For my head, I usually bring a bunch of different hats. And again, it kind of depends on what I'm doing. But in the extreme sense, if it's really cold, start with my balaclava. This is my first layer. This is my nose bra. Your what? This one gets all the laughs. And these are, you'll only find these in Fairbanks.
Yeah, where'd you get it?
I got it at Apocalypse. And I'm probably the only guy who buys them anymore. But, you know, I can breathe. It protects my nose and cheeks. Doesn't fog up my glasses too bad. And then my hat. Or that, and then I'll usually wear my neck beater over that. So, you know, I've got a lot of options here. I can pull this up. If you wear glasses, fogging up's a big problem. You know, doesn't look like many people wear glasses, but anyway, it's something you kind of have to consider a little bit. If I'm shoveling, you know, I'm in a situation where it's like, get my snow machine stuck. I usually keep a hat like here. I'll take off my beaver hat. I'll just let it dangle, and then I'll put on a lighter hat. You know, to kind of like, it's just another layer, really. So I'll usually travel with, you know, 2 or 3 different hats and a bunch of different glove combinations, because you just want to have options in terms of, like, you know, I've got these big heavy mitts, but I can wear lighter gloves like this, and then I can put them right in here. So if you're like snow machining or you're out kind of sedentary, you know, you can put these on, and then when you need to do something, you just pull this off, and I've got a little more dexterity. And they make even lighter liners, so you can actually go with another layer, even like this. When I'm working and I'm out, you know, I'll just clip these on my belt, like this. A lot of mushers, if you've ever heard of dog racing, they'll have them on like a cord, they wrap them up, keep on the back. To me, that's a little too much stuff to get in the way.
Can you talk a little bit about wind and using equipment when you're...
Yeah, you know, working in the Arctic or the Antarctic, it's always windy, really. So what Robbie just mentioned is that when you put stuff down, it's probably going to blow away. So if you can clip it like this, or keep it secured somehow, you're hopefully not going to lose anything. But, you know, and I do carry spares, you know, so, I mean, these weigh nothing, so I'll keep a couple in my pack. If you lose one, you got an extra one. Same with the hat and the glove or whatever. These will also get wet, you know, as moisture condenses on them, I'll just change them out. So, and I'll wash them every now and then. Probably not as often as I should. Sun hats, it's good to have like a baseball cap, you know, for sunshine. And here, you know, this guy, I could put that on. If it's cold, I can put a hat over it if I wanted to, you know, or whatever hat I wear. Oh, I'm a Ducks fan. If you're wondering what the Oregon connotation is. So, I don't know, that's basically the premise of layering. You know, so if I start doing stuff, I take stuff off. If I need to be warmer, I put stuff on. But don't get wrapped up in like one big parka, you know, and nothing underneath it, because you've really limited yourself on versatility. So.
And taking spares and different weights of stuff in a backpack with you when you leave camp or whatever is always good.
Yeah. Handkerchiefs, super handy, not just for wiping your nose, but you know, if you have to lift a hot pot off a stove or something like that, hankies are really handy. Got 2 little kids, I'm always using it from them.
Nice.
And then other things that really aren't related to clothing, but stuff that I just bring all the time. I always bring a little snack bag. You know, so if you're working in a group, you're going in the field, and you know, if you know your own metabolism, and you know you're going to get hungry in the middle of the day, bring your own food. You know, just something to nibble on, keep your own energy up.
And that's part of the responsibility of you as a team member to take care of yourself so that if you decide, you know, you do have a big metabolism and you're out there and you're starving and you're just like losing energy, and you're not providing value to the group. I mean, this is part of, you know, taking personal responsibility.
You know, some medicines, stuff that you normally would take with you, especially prescription drugs. Hand warmers work great. You know, again, it kind of depends where you're going, when you're going. GPS. This is my repair kit, and I take this everywhere I go on trips. It's got like super glue and zip ties and a screwdriver, duct tape, you know, lighter, sewing kit, real handy, and then it's got a sewing awl. Anyway, it's just a hodgepodge of this little knickknacks. It's like my ditty bag. So, got a little book of how to tie knots. Works pretty good. So anyway, a little repair kit. It doesn't have to be this extensive. It could be as simple as a little tiny Ziploc with a few buttons and pins and needles and stuff like that. Some glue. I've repaired a lot of glasses for people over the years because, you know, they break and it's like, oh, I can fix that. Wire it up, glue it together. You know, you can be the hero. Water bottle. This is I didn't bring mine, but a urine bottle. You know, which sounds really funny, but you're gonna love it when it's you know, 20 below zero and you got to go out of your tent to go use the bathroom. And if you're doing field work in a camp setting, you might want to consider something like this.
Yeah, and I want to say something about that because hydro packs are real common now inside of everything. They don't work in the cold because it's too, unless you have a specialized one that's been cold. Bring a water bottle.
Yeah, water bottle. And, I mean, and the hot water bottles. You know, if you're actually going to be camping, are there any folks that are going to be in a field setting where you're going to be camping out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know what time of year, but you know, hot water bottles are great. This is a urine bottle, which kind of doubles, but
It's got X's on it.
yeah, you don't want to mix them up. You don't want to mix them up. I won't tell you a story what I did.
Oh, come on.
No. I don't want to relive it. I do a lot of work on my knees when I'm in field camps, setting up tents and building platforms and stuff. So I bring knee pads. Kind of depends what you're doing. If you're working with a drilling group, you know, you might want to think about your knees and having to bend down a lot. You know, it's something I just bring with me all the time. You know, in my pack, I always have an extra pair of socks. A thermos is nice to have. You know, if you want to like stay hydrated, make yourself some tea in the morning, take it with you in the field. And then just the normal stuff, you know, toiletries, little notepad, and then yeah, that's kind of it. You know, one thing I will note is that if you're working around machinery, you know, let's say you're working with a group that's doing a lot of drilling, be real mindful of loose straps, you know, long dangly things, because you don't want to get caught up in the equipment, you know, the machinery. So just be aware of that. If you're not, then not as big a deal. But you'll see like stuff like this. I did see a guy once get his sleeve caught in an auger, broke his arm, got twisted, hit the ice, and got knocked unconscious. It was pretty bad. So just be aware of that kind of stuff. So let's see. What else, Robbie?
Go a little bit about, there's people here going to wet.
Versus cold.
Yeah, wet versus cold. Well, you know, when we issue rain gear, we go for the heavy duty stuff. You know, there's a lot of technology's been great, and they make, you know, all sorts of laminates and breathable materials and stuff like that. But you know, if really in Alaska, like southeast Alaska, where you get real rain, like 140 inches a year or something, you know, this is the stuff that's really going to work for you. You know, but the problem with this stuff is that it really doesn't breathe very well. So I'm not too familiar with fully ventable, 100% waterproof garments. I know they're probably out there, but even so, your base layer is going to be the same thing, you know, synthetic or capilene or wool or silk, something like that. Because if it does, because you're going to get wet from inside, from your own, if you're, you know, doing stuff actively, you're gonna start sweating because this stuff doesn't really do. I don't know what you guys issue out of Denver if you're.
We have both. I mean, again, it's a preference. The bigger stuff does leak, and so then people complain. But then you give them this, and they complain it's too hot. So
Yeah.
kind of try to give them both. And
Well, and if you're kneeling in the tundra, it's wet, so sometimes it's nice. So if you're like doing plant stuff or kneeling a lot, you actually want the.
yeah,
You might need a combination, maybe heavy on the bottom and then light on the top.
Yeah. And you know, I'm not gonna say that cotton has its place. You know, especially if you're working in the summertime, and let's say you're up at Tulip, and it's 75 degrees and a beautiful summer day. You know, I bring cards with me and a t-shirt because it's great. You know, I mean, it's appropriate. It's just you don't want to wear it when it's wet or cold or.
and it also depends on how far away you are from camp. I mean, if you can walk back, yeah, I mean, there's ways to walk back, change your clothes. But
Yeah.
if you're out in a snowmobile and you're 10 miles away, well,
Yeah. Let's see, what else was I gonna say? Yeah, you know, I mean, I'm not winning any fashion shows either. I mean, there's newer or fancier stuff out there for sure.
and there's one person going on a ship, so if you could say something about
Oh.
that.
Well, this is a Mustang. They call this a work coverall. It's actually has built-in flotation, but when you're on deck, is it the Healy?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a couple
Yeah.
of ship people here.
Healy, and then Glenn,
Oh,
Palmer,
And we got the
and the
gold.
Gould.
Oh,
Three
yeah.
ships.
Yep.
Well, if you're going to be working on deck, they're going to have these for you. But the same thing applies. You know, if you're going to be working on deck through a whole, series of whatever they do, casting, and you're out there for hours, it's the same layers that go underneath this. These are really great. And then if you, heaven forbid, go overboard, it'll float you. They're good. They'll float you in water. So.
Yeah, and you usually end up wearing the steel-toed extra toughs on ship. They'll usually issue them. But sometimes we have to swim out.
And those Bama boots that I showed you earlier, you can wear them inside these too. But the thing would be, if you don't have Bama boots, sometimes it's hard to get that Bama boot inside a boot like this, depending on the size. You can put in a foot liner, like a wool liner, and then a wool sock. But basically on a ship, you can always go inside and change your clothes if you had to. It's not like you're 10 miles away from your camp, so you can always usually take a break.
better too big than too small.
So, I mean, this is one type. There's
Right.
lots of different versions of this.
There's a type that some tulip groups just, you can't survive unless you have a bug shirt. And I sent one of those, and oh my God, I have to have a bug shirt. So, I mean, again, I said.
That's not a bug shirt?
It's not the bug shirt, it's a
The
brand.
bug shirt is a brand.
Oh,
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
there's
so-
probably a half dozen different.
Right, and
brands
so
of
we
stuff.
have